It's time now for another business update. And for that, I'm joined here in the studio by Onka Ula from our business desk. And Onka, we're starting out in the US, where President Donald Trump has issued another threat. He's now saying that he's willing to leave the World Trade Organization.
Yeah, well, it's no secret that Donald Trump does not like the WTO. Earlier this month, a string of media reports suggested the White House had already drafted a bill to leave the trade body. But this is the first time we've heard it explicitly coming from the president's own mouth. In an interview with Bloomberg News, he said he would pull the trigger if, quote, they don't shape up, calling the WTO the single worst trade deal ever made, a phrase he's often used to describe NAFTA previously.
Okay, let's move on now to Argentina, which has seen its currency plummet as investors fear a worsening economic crisis.
That's right, Thomas. Argentina's peso lost nearly 1/5 of its value on Thursday, despite the government's attempts to save it by hiking the benchmark interest rate to 60%. That's the highest in the world. The latest twist in the economic drama took place this week when President Mauricio Macri said he was talking to the International Monetary Fund to speed up payments in a $50 billion loan program that's intended to help the country pay off its mountain of debt. Argentina's economy minister heads to Washington next to speak with IMF officials.
We understand that there is a sense of distrust in Argentina's economy, an economy which we believe has solid foundations. But we also recognize that we have to reinforce it because of the shocks we have been exposed to.
So, Onka, talk us through now how the markets are trading at this hour.
Well, uncertainty is creeping up again. European markets were trading down at the open as concerns over trade are rising. The deadline for a new NAFTA is today, and Donald Trump is saying that he considers tariffs on another $200 billion of Chinese goods could happen as soon as next week. A similar trend in Asia, Chinese shares understandably down and Chinese markets following suit. Seoul still hanging on in the green. Well, let's look now at some other business news taking place around the world. Coca-Cola is expanding its presence in hot beverages, buying the British coffee chain Costa for $5 billion. Costa's parent company, Whitbread plc, said its board voted unanimously and that the sale was in the best interest of its shareholders. It's a huge return for Whitbread, which bought Costa in 1995 when it had only 39 shops. Finance ministers from Japan and China met in Beijing to discuss financial cooperation in fiscal and tax reform, as well as opposing protectionism and avoiding financial risk. The two parties were also expected to discuss reviving a massive currency swap arrangement of more than $27 billion, nearly 9 times what they used to trade.
And finally, for business, Onka, Africa is emerging as the newest investment hotspot for governments around the world, including Europe.
Well, this week we saw that appetite on full display, with British Prime Minister Theresa May and German Chancellor Angela Merkel both on separate African tours to discuss business. The two women have different goals on the continent, however, as Emerald Maxwell explains.
Signaling that Germany means business. On the second leg of her Africa tour, Angela Merkel met Ghanaian entrepreneurs at a startup hub in Accra, accompanied by nearly a dozen German business leaders.
Overall, Ghana is one of the front-runners of economic development in Africa. Therefore, we can say that Germany and Ghana share the same values and principles.
Looking to boost business ties, the German Chancellor first stopped in Senegal, another of Africa's fastest-growing economies, and will continue on to Nigeria. And she's not the only leader eyeing up Africa's burgeoning economic potential. Her trip comes hot on the heels of British Prime Minister Theresa May's 3-country Africa tour, aimed at drumming up post-Brexit trade deals. On Thursday, she was in Kenya, travelling with a large business delegation.
The UK is already the largest foreign investor in Kenya, and I've set out this week our ambition to be the G7's #1 investor in Africa by 2022. Once we're outside the European Union, we'll have the opportunity to negotiate these trade deals on behalf of the UK.
The international community is interested not only in resource-rich Africa's economic potential, but also in its booming population, expected to double by 2050.
Emerald Maxwell's package there, bringing this business bulletin to an end. Onka Ula, thank you very much.